Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Happy Friday. It is Friday, October the 8th. This is Wake Up with Ray G. We are in the building Friday. Had a game last night. It was a football game. The Los Angeles Rams took down the Seattle Seahawks. Welcome to everybody in the comments, y'all. Hey, so check it out. Good morning, Ty. Good morning, Stone, Lindsey, Jorgen. So here's the issue. So there's like this thing where Twitter and Periscope have screwed everything up. So anybody that's watching on Twitter or Periscope or whatever the hell it's called today, if you want to comment, ask questions, engage, you have to watch the show on YouTube. So we did tweet out a link on YouTube to go to YouTube to watch the show if you want to engage in the comments. Apparently, Twitter's supposed to have this fixed by the end of the month. We'll see. It's just they're causing problems, unnecessary problems for us all. But Jordan, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It was a late night last night. At least the Rams did get a victory. We all kind of expected that, but not necessarily in the fashion that we expected. And obviously, the biggest story right now is Russell Wilson's finger injury. What's going to happen with that? They're calling it a sprain. I think that Pete Carroll said it's not quite a mild sprain, maybe like a medium sprain. I don't know what that means.
His finger
kind of
was
what it looks like.
His finger was like curved like a fish hook, man.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is it just tells me, how strong is Aaron Donald really? How many quarterbacks' hands is he going to break with his muscles? It brought me back to, I think it was 2 years ago with Drew Brees when the same thing happened. Aaron Donald was rushing, and that's when he tore his UCL. I believe he hit his hand up. I think it was actually on Aaron Donald's helmet. This is just on Aaron Donald's forearm. Russell Wilson hits with his middle finger, and it's it looks like a fish hook, like you said. It was crazy to see that.
I'm watching the game, and if I just told you to think about what a defensive tackle looks like, you would think like this big, fat, you know what I mean, interior. He is a physical. I'm looking at him like, I wish I looked that good, dude. He's just, it's amazing to me to see his size, right? Because Aaron Donald, how big is Aaron Donald? Let's see.
He's only 6'2", but I think he's. I think he's 360 though. He's pretty big.
No. He's not even 300 pounds. He's 280, 284.
He's 280,
dude. Yeah, that's what Dude, he's tiny. He's compact, not tiny. He's not tiny.
He's strong, but you just expect him to be
he's
bigger,
6'1", 284, and he plays interior defensive tackle, and he's probably one of the best to ever do it. I just watch him, and I'm just incredibly impressed. But yeah, we've got a lot to get into in this one, so we're just going to go ahead and get into the morning run and then dive into the Thursday night football game. Let's do it.
Wake up! This is the morning run.
Run, Forrest, run!
All right, so as we alluded to at the beginning, I keep calling them the St. Louis Rams, the Los Angeles Rams, L.A., Los Angeles Rams took down the Seattle Seahawks last night on Thursday Night Football. It was a bounce-back game, I guess, for the Rams after kind of having a letdown last week versus the Cardinals, getting beat down by the Cardinals. And Matt Stafford, got back to doing his thing, 365 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Darrell Henderson gave us all a scare with his injury. I think it was towards the end of the second quarter. And we didn't see him anymore. It was a lot of Sony Michel, but Darrell Henderson had a nice game, 17 carries, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. The squeaky wheel got the grease. Robert Bobby Trees Woods, 12 receptions on 14 targets and 150 yards. Listen, Sean McVay said it, and they did it, right? They got him the ball early and often. Once again, 14 targets for Robert Woods. I'm sure he's feeling good today, probably being a little down over the first couple of weeks of the season because he has not been receiving that volume. And boom, just like that, goes out there 12 for 150, doesn't get in the end zone. And you might think, well, Robert Woods, since he went off, Cooper Kupp probably did nothing, and that is not true. Cooper Kupp still had 7 for 92 and probably had a couple of more yards left on the field. Matt Stafford missed him a couple of times, man. Cooper Kupp still had 10 targets, still an absolute monster. Djax got loose on a deep pass for 68 yards. We saw Van Jefferson get a catch early in the game, and then that was it for Van Jefferson. I mean, the passing attack was literally Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee did get in the end zone. So if you play fantasy and you started Higbee, you're happy you got the touchdown. What were your thoughts for the Rams, Jay, from the Rams, and were you impressed by their showing this past Thursday?
I wouldn't say I was impressed because, it was another 2 quarters of bad Stafford, right? Like you talked about, he hit Van Jefferson early, but outside of that, he couldn't hit him again. There was a couple throws. I know particularly they highlighted a comeback route that he ran really well. Matt Stafford missed him on. He was missing Cooper Kupp down the field. I believe he missed Deshaun Jackson on another deep ball. He was throwing the ball short a lot, which is not, at least not to my knowledge, characteristic of Matt Stafford. He's more of a deep ball quarterback, can throw it as far as it needs to go. But it seemed like he was leaving a lot of balls short. There was the one ball to Cooper Kupp that was probably around 25, 30 yards down the field. He had to slide to get because he threw it short. The pass to Deshaun Jackson was short, but that was more of a YOLO ball. I'm not really going to give him a whole lot of credit for that. D-Jax, the great ball tracker that he is, he treated it like a punt. He went back and got it, and he, turned it up the field. I did have a D-Jax touchdown. Our boy Giles actually did call that. I believe it was plus 450. I tailed it, and D-Jax pulls it up at the 10-yard line. I don't know if he his hamstring was hurting or something. But like you said, the story
looked like he limped off with a hammy. Hey, yo, Hunter, hit me right now on Twitter. Send me a message right now. I don't. Just hit me right now. I got you, bro. Hit me right now.
But yeah, like you talked about, it was pretty much all Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. It was great to see Woods finally get involved. I don't like to buy into coach speak, but it was nice that the coach speak actually lived up to the hype a little bit. So 12 for 150, great for Woods. But I still wouldn't say I was impressed. The Seahawks defense is bad. We've been talking about how bad it was for the past 4 weeks, and it took them still a half to really get going. It was one of the lowest scoring quarters in Sean McVay's career, and they talked about how it's only one game he's ever gone scoreless in the first half, and that was in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So we'll see what happens with the Rams. It was great to see Matt Stafford bounce back. I believe he had over 300 yards in the second half.
365. Oh, yeah, 300 in the second half. Yeah.
Yeah, 300 in the second half. Shows how bad he was in the first half, especially with that interception. That wasn't a great play either. But, we'll see what happens with them. I think they looked good. And more importantly, the running game is very good. And Darrell Henderson is very good. He continues to be smashing his props. And it was good to see him get in the end zone finally because he'd been getting the yardage, but he hadn't been scoring the touchdowns. So I think that for me was one of the big things.
Yeah. Speaking of the Rams, once again, I told you yesterday, Matthew Stafford under 5.5 rushing yards. Raise QB rushing props. We are 7 for 7. I also took Russell Wilson, the under. I don't want to brag about that one too much because who knows what would have happened had he continued to play, but he was also under 21.5 rushing yards. There are certain quarterbacks where I feel like if you just bet the under for 18 straight games, at the end of the season, you will have made more money than you have gained. Matt Stafford, whatever his rushing yard prop is, I am smashing the under. He does not run the ball. If anything, he's going to sneak it down the goal line, but he had -1 rushing yards on one attempt yesterday. That was free money. So 2 for 2 on the quarterback rushing props this week, and I will give you my 5 QB rushing prop locks that I have already placed. We talked about one yesterday in Zach Wilson, but let's focus on Seattle real quick because they're 2-3 right now on the season after this loss. Russell Wilson, we don't know how long he's going to be out. Geno looked okay for a little bit, but at the end of the day, he's Geno effing Smith. You're not going to win anything with Geno Smith. Now, what's interesting is Russ did go back into the game, and I think he threw a couple of passes. He handed it off a couple of times, and then they pulled him out. You saw him on the sideline holding the tennis ball or whatever he was, probably trying to keep that finger loose. This is not good. If Russell Wilson cannot play, this is not good for Seattle. Chris Carson didn't play. Alex Collins played. Dude, there's a reason why he's a backup in the NFL. I know there's some kind of allure, and it's funny, man. You get on Twitter and anytime there's an injury, especially to a running back position, and the third or fourth stringer gets elevated, everybody's like, they're a league winner. He's a league winner. They're a league winner. No, they're not. No, Alex Collins is not some effing league winner. I'm trying to stop cursing because there are small children who listen to this show. So I'm trying to be respectful of all of our audience members because I don't want the parents of small children to turn this off because you, Jordan, have a sailor mouth and are using foul language. So I am trying to do better over here every day. I want to be a better person. So I don't even know what I was talking about. Who the hell was I talking about?
You were talking about how you were disparaging Alex Collins on Twitter because he couldn't convert on a third down conversion.
He missed
Don't think I didn't see that.
He missed the hole, so I tweeted out a play.
The safety was still coming down.
It doesn't matter. Understand?
That.
Okay, let's have football. Let's have football talk. Play is designed to hit to the left, off tackle. There's the hole. You've got a safety coming down, but you've got one man to miss. Play side this way, which means the offensive linemen are pushing the defenders inside. You do not cut into the defense on 4th and 3. You don't do that. Like, take your chances one-on-one as a running back. It was blocked up. Yes, you have to make a safety miss. Very few offensive scheme plays are taking your offensive guards and putting them on a safety. That's on the running back. Linebackers were covered. The defensive end was covered. You see Dwayne Brown outkick the defensive end. That's on Alex Collins. Make a guy miss. Spin. Put your head down. All you have to do is gain 2 yards. He cuts it back into the defense, and then they're stopped. And not only the defense, you cut it back into Aaron Donald, and they lost the 4th and 2 call. So Alex Collins is not a league winner. You do like the volume, 15 carries. I think he had a couple of receptions in the game for 25 yards. So 17 touches for Alex Collins isn't bad. If Chris Carson is going to miss time, then Alex Collins is going to be a flex-worthy start. But if you have better options, do not throw Alex Collins out there thinking he's going to be a league winner. DK Metcalf, only 5 targets. I lost this prop. This is why I don't do anything other than QB rushing props. But DK Metcalf over 5.5 receptions. He hit 5. On 5 targets for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Throw DK the ball. Like, I knew early on, I was like, this DK ain't going to get it. Like, Tyler Lockett came out. He had 10 targets, 5 receptions, 57 yards. Just missed on a deep ball. But those are the only 2 guys in the passing attack that you want. No Gerald Everett. Weird. I thought Gerald Everett was going to be more involved, but
He didn't play. He wasn't activated off the COVID list. So we all expected him to be, but he wasn't activated off the list. That's why Disley was 2 for 29 last night.
Yeah, Disley 2 for 29. DJ Dallas got a little bit of run. But if Russell Wilson doesn't play this offense, I don't want anything to do with it. Like, if you want to bet on the receivers, I think that you just bet. And even if Russell Wilson plays next week, I'm no medical professional, but I would assume that finger is not going to be 100%, right? So the Russell Wilson pass attempts, again, I don't want a victory lap. We got it right, but it didn't even trend the direction that he was going to. They wanted to run the ball. Pete Carroll loves Alex Collins. He loves Alex Collins more than I love my wife. I don't understand the love affair that Pete Carroll is putting money in Alex Collins' family's table. Like, he is truly giving him every opportunity to be the guy, and he's just some guy. If Russ is hindered, hampered, or hurt, I'm taking the under pass attempts, under pass completions, this is not a good situation. This is not a good situation for Seattle. The only 2 players that I want anything to do with in fantasy or from a betting perspective are DK and Tyler Lockett. And then again, I would take the under on the quarterback rushing yards. Russell Wilson has not run as much as he has early in his career. That's why I was so confident taking the under the rushing yards for the quarterback position. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. I think DK and Tyler Lockett with Geno Smith are all you want, and Alex Collins is just a guy. So let's jump into the rest of the slate. And real quick, Jay, but before we do that, I want to touch on Atlanta, New York really quick. No Calvin Ridley, no Russell Gage. They are not going to play in this game. Does this change how you view Cordero Patterson, and does this change how you view Kyle Pitts?
So for me, I think Cordero Patterson could definitely hit his overs this week. He is used primarily as a running back, but I think, like you talked about with Ridley not playing, it opens up a bit more for him in the offense, so that opportunities, those snap counts may go up. As far as Pitts is concerned, I kind of view him as the only guy you really have to cover. And so if he gets bracketed, how is he going to do anything? Because he's really the only downfield threat. Yes, there's the concern of Patterson, but I don't think there's anybody else you really have to worry about. So if he gets cornerback coverage with safety help, which I think the Jets could easily do, I'm not really thinking he's going to hit his overs. And as well, part of it too for me is sample size. Like, we've never seen him play without Ridley. And that, to me, I think is another thing I want to kind of see. How does the offense look without Ridley, and how is Pitts used without Ridley? We don't know if they're going to funnel targets his way or potentially some other way. But we may see some more Mike Davis and like you said, like I said, Cordell Patterson on the backfield.
So his reception prop is at 5.5 for Pitts. Receiving yards, 45.5. So it didn't move a lot. His receptions, I think, bumped up one reception. I think he was 4.5 yesterday. Now he's 5.5. And I think he was around 43.5 receiving yards. And now, dude, this is interesting. I don't know if this is right or not, But FanDuel has him at 45.5 at -114. Every other book, PointsBet, MGM, DraftKings, Caesar, 60.5. It's a 15-yard difference.
60.5?
Yeah, man. Let me,
Wow.
I can't bet FanDuel down here in Texas, but let me make sure. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, FanDuel.
Maybe it just hasn't been updated yet or something.
Maybe it hasn't been updated. Right. Yeah, there's
it's
no
one
way.
thing to look for, though. You do see those discrepancies when you have these injuries. Sometimes you will find books that are late to adjust, and you can exploit lines like that. So if you are a FanDuel user, go check that out. See if you can get picks at what you said, 44.5.
Yeah, it says on our prop shop, it's got 45.5, and every other book is at 60.5. So just check that out. But Jay, we've got to get to the next week. And Cordell Patterson, yeah, Jorgen plus 375 to score at any time touchdown. I'm staying in the Flames. I would. That's a sound bet. Love it. All right, so where are we at? Where did we leave off yesterday, Jay?
Denver at Pittsburgh.
Right,
in the Underfest, right?
Give it to us.
So Pitt's favored by 1, over under of 39.5. This is a game that honestly could be just disgusting. We know Big Ben is dealing with a hip injury. He's expected to play. Why is he expected to play? Well, because the quarterback position for Pittsburgh really can't get much worse. So might as well throw your decrepit Hall of Famer out there, see what he can do. Teddy right now looks like he's a game time decision. He was trending towards playing, but with concussions, you just don't really know what to expect, kind of what's going to happen. So I'm not really sure how the offense is going to look on either side. And so it's difficult to find props for both teams because we don't know the status of Big Ben. We don't know the status of Teddy Bridgewater, who we know will heavily upgrade that offense over Drew Lock. Drew Lock did not look great last week, and playing against the Steelers defense, we're just not expecting to see much from him. I would be starting Deontay Johnson because, he just happens to be a monster. But Najee Harris, the 53.5 rushing yards, I don't know, man. He's only hit that one time this season. It was last week against the Green Bay Packers, who are 12th in rushing yards allowed. The Denver Broncos are 5th in rushing yards allowed. They only allow 70 rushing yards a game, so it's just hard to imagine Najee gets there personally. We'll see what happens, though. He is still number 1 in elusive rating as far as FTN goes. He's number 1 in forced missed tackles through the air with 19. The only players with over 19 through the air there's only players with 19 or more forced missed tackles total are Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon. So Najee Harris is a forced missed tackle god as far as FTN is concerned, but we'll see. I just don't expect him to get that much on the ground. Believe his over-under was set at 14.5 carries. And I thought about maybe looking at that, but I think the yards are safer in this case. That's why I'm going with the under on 53.5 rushing yards for Najee.
Yeah, man, this hurts because he has been so good, man. But that offense is so bad. The offensive line is so bad. Ben Roethlisberger is so bad that I don't think defenses even fear the pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to put Patrick Surtain on Deontay Johnson, and that's going to be a hell of a battle to watch. I'm going to love watching Patrick Surtain versus Deontay Johnson. In Denver, with Drew Lock at the helm or Teddy Bridgewater, I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I like the 39.5 is not a lot. You know me. If I'm going to take a spread, I'm a teaser kind of guy. I'm gonna do a 7.5 point teaser, and I'm gonna take the under on this game. I don't know who's gonna win this one, honestly, because Drew Lock can throw the game away. And yeah, Jorgen, I'm looking at Ben Roethlisberger's rushing props under a half a yard. I think it's an under. Now you don't get a lot of juice on there, like minus 213, 208. If I were gonna do anything with that, if there's another bet that you feel confident in this game, I would just do a 2-leg parlay. I'll take the under in Ben's rushing yards, and then whether you like the over on Najee Harris rushing yards, if Deontay Johnson's props come out, is there anything for Javonte Williams? Anything for Denver Broncos running back Javonte Williams? I'm not sure if Javonte has anything, but maybe parlay Ben's under. There's nothing for Javonte Williams.
It's pretty much just Najee that I've seen so far. Is his yards for whatever reason are up, but no receiving for him. Another 7 targets, 6 receptions last week for him. So we'll see if they do come up. I think to your point, Javonte could be a great bet, but even against that Steelers defense with Drew Lock at the helm, if he is the quarterback, very little threat of the pass. And I think they do go all in on stopping Javonte, Melvin Gordon, and the running game, more so than trying to stop Drew Lock. They'll let Drew Lock do whatever he wants because they know that he won't beat them.
I'm just looking on Prize Picks real quick to see if they have anything for Javonte Williams. And right now, just a quick scroll. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything for for Gordon or Javonte Williams. So no lines up for those guys yet. But yeah, Jorgen, that's the way I would do it. I would just parlay it. I'd just do a 2-leg parlay with something else you feel confident in. Ben's not rushing for it. It sounds crazy, but I mean, look at the juice on it. Minus 213, minus 208.
People know he's not gonna run.
He's not running. He's not running. So there's nothing else to really talk about from this one because there's nothing else really out there. So let's move on to Miami versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay favored by 10. Again, I parlay it, 7.5. All they have to do is win by 3. You know what I mean? Win by 3, 3.5, 2.5 points for Tampa Bay, which I think they do at home versus the Jacoby Brissett-led Dolphins, who have no running game. There is no Will Fuller. Their only passing threat. I like Devontae Parker. I think he's a sneaky play in fantasy leagues, and he might be a sneaky bet to get a lot of volume in this one as well. Mike Gesicki, interested to see what his lines are. But, Jay, where are you at with this game? Tampa Bay, I know you have some action, or you like some of the Leonard Fournette props in this one.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette right now is my favorite one. I think that they really found something last week against the Patriots, and I know that part of it was game script, part of it was the weather, but Leonard Fournette did look really good in that game, and I believe he had 90 yards on almost 20 carries, or even might have went over 20 carries. So that's just kind of where I'm at with this game. I think that, more importantly, Miami's not great against the run. They've been terrible against the run all year. We saw Oakland go over 100 yards against them. We saw Jonathan Taylor go over 100 yards against them last week. So I just think it's a foregone conclusion that they could go over, but it just depends on, is it going to be Leonard Fournette or is it going to be Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones has not gotten any work, really. Like, he's gotten a couple carries in like the third quarter to kind of spell Leonard a little bit, but for the most part, it's been Fournette, it's been Tom Brady, it's been those pass catchers. And, Gio Bernard's still not coming back anytime soon. He's still on IR, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's going to be back. He's going to be gone for a while. But Fournette, I do like it at 58.5. It's not something that we expected from the Bucs last week, given that they've really struggled on the ground. But they got something going, and I think they're going to have to continue that because it worked. Like, we said it with the Dallas Cowboys. Why would they stop running the ball when it's just working for them? And I think if Tampa can get this running game going, it will slow down. It'll make things easier on the defense as well, because that offense is scoring points really, really quickly through the air. And that defense needs time to just relax, get themselves together, because they don't have the playmakers that they want to have. And they have so many injuries. So I think Tom Brady and that offense are going to need to slow the game down a little bit and play a little bit slower to allow their defense more time to be on the field less and ultimately play better.
Yeah, and Hunter says Waddle over 5 receptions should be a lock passing. It should be. But every time we've bet Waddle on a lock, he doesn't hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time we miss out. He should be a lock in this one with that bad secondary, with as good as Tampa Bay's front seven is. That should be a lock for Jalen Waddle. Jorgen, Tom Brady rushing yards. Here's my issue with this one. Tom Brady has scrambled, it seems like, more this season than he has any other season, right? Like, he's not any other. He's been playing for 20 damn years. I wouldn't touch this one. I did not bet this one. I wouldn't touch this one. Wouldn't shock me for Tom Brady to have 2, 3, 4 rushing yards. We saw him lead the team in rushing at one point this season with 3 carries for 14 yards. Wouldn't touch this one. I think there are better exploitable matchups. Even in this one, I would rather take the under on Jacoby Brissett, 14.5 rushing yards. When I'm looking at this for quarterbacks, I'm looking at the linebackers and the defensive front. He's got to deal with Devin White and what's the other linebacker? Devin White and I'm
Levante David still there?
Levante David. Like, those are very fast linebackers. And when you've got a quarterback who is not fleet of foot like Jacoby Brissett, I'm concerned about Vita Vea and then Ndamukong Suh, Shaq Barrett. I don't know if JPP is coming back. And then I'm very concerned about the linebackers. I don't think he's going to have a lot of space to run. And I only bet 5 of them, but this was one of the 5 that I toggled with. I like Jacoby Brissett's under more than I do Tom Brady's under rushing yards. So wouldn't touch it. Don't hate it for Tom Brady, but I have more confidence in Tom Brady picking up 2 yards than I do Jacoby Brissett picking up 15 yards. I like Chris Godwin over 4.5 receptions in this one. I think his receiving yard total is like 61.5. Should hit that, but I feel more confident in Chris Godwin getting 5 catches than I do his yardage totals. And the touchdowns in this game, flip a coin. AB getting in the end zone, Godwin getting in the end zone, Mike Evans getting in the end zone. But I'm with you. I think Leonard Fournette over 58.5 rushing yards. He's looked really good, man. Leonard Fournette has looked really good. And as I talk about this, I kind of want to see what his reception total is, because he's getting some decent work in the receiving game, and there's nothing up for Leonard Fournette's receptions. Anything else from this game, Jay?
So I'm actually kind of with Hunter on this game. With Will Fuller being out, I do think that Waddle will get to 5 receptions. And on top of that, they're going to have that quick pass rush, so they're going to have to get the ball out early. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. And I think that Waddle could have a great game. While I don't love his receiving yard number at 52.5, I think he can beat it. I just think that there will be a lot of dump offs to him. Like you said, a lot of dump offs to Gesicki, and I think it could be an option for him to exploit this quick pass rush by throwing the ball quick. And it's minus 150, so the bettors are kind of on that side that Waddle's going to go over. And I think it's a pretty good bet. We saw it a couple weeks ago. Last week, for whatever reason, it wasn't quite there. But one line I do want to ask you about, because I found it really interesting, is Myles Gaskin at 19.5 rushing yards. Do you think he can hit that number? Because his volume is going lower and lower every week.
If you do that, you're just guessing. I mean, he's not getting the volume. This is not this bet. If you take the over, it's not on any sort of technical analysis. You're just like, oh, he should get that. They've shown us nothing. And as Eric said, as a Dolphins fan, we got 2 OCs. And I don't think either know what the hell they're doing. It's like you have 2 starting quarterbacks. It's Malcolm Brown, it's Savon Ahmed, it's Gaskin getting 2 carries. I wouldn't touch it. And that's a damn shame, because I think he's a good running back, but I'm not touching Myles Gaskin rushing yard props. And Jorgen, once again, I wouldn't take the over on Tom Brady. I'd rather take the under on Jacoby Brissett. And that was the 6th quarterback bet that I just left off of my ticket this week, but I'd feel confident in that one. We've got New Orleans Saints versus the Washington football team. New Orleans favored by 2. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. Washington football team plus 112 on the money line, over under 44. Jay, I know you said there wasn't a ton to talk about in this one, but I do have a quarterback lock prop, rushing prop in this one. Is there anything else that you want to hit on in this game? Alvin Kamara has turned into a grinder, man. Alvin Kamara getting a ton of work in the running game and none in the receiving game. What do you think about this game?
So one thing I want to point out, a stat that I found really interesting, is that both these defenses are giving up a lot through the air, and most of it is on the first read, because a lot of these defenses aren't playing as well as they should be. You talk about the Saints defense, it's supposed to be one of probably the top 10 in the league. Washington's supposed to be top 5, and both of them are just playing terrible. They're allowing too many yards through the air. We saw Daniel Jones just go off against the Saints last week. It's not really making a whole lot of sense, and personally, I just think this game's going to go over. 44 points for a team that just allowed 25 to the Giants, another team that allowed 30 basically to the Falcons. I just don't really know how this game's not going to go over, unless, of course, these defenses show up, which could happen.
The issue is Washington is dealing with some injuries. Antonio Gibson banged up, which isn't good. I like J.D. McKissick plus 195 to score a touchdown. There are no other props on J.D. McKissick right now, but plus 195 to score a touchdown. I think that's good juice right there, for J.D. McKissick. Sorry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Heineke can put up points, so I'm kind of with you on that. Washington hasn't really been able to do anything on defense. They're allowing a ton of yards, so if you want to go Jameis over, Callaway over, Kamara rushing yards over, which is at 80.5, I wouldn't necessarily go towards that. I was looking for Kamara rushing attempts because he's been going over 20 every week. They don't have anything up for that right now. It's just a game I don't really like to bet. I like you mentioned, maybe you take the football team with the points. I think I like the over best of all. But last night I liked the over, and it was like a heavy underfest. So I don't really know what the hell's going to happen. It's just one of those games I don't have a good read on, and I would probably stay away from it. I'm assuming you like the Jameis under on the rushing yards.
No, I actually took Taylor Heineke under, and I got that at 22.5 on Prospect. Okay. So I got that early in the week. Right now, it's already bet down. PointsBet has it at 18.5. And then Caesars, MGM, and DraftKings, 21.5. So I got it at 22.5. I like the under on Taylor Heineke's rushing yards. New Orleans, again, one of the things I look for are athletic linebackers. Do they have linebackers that if the quarterback escapes the pocket, can they get hawked down? In New Orleans, they have athletic linebackers and athletic ends. So I like Taylor Heineke's under 22.5. You can't get that right now, but if you can get 21.5, I would feel good with that. 18.5, it starts to get a little dicey because he will run around, but over the past couple of weeks, Heineke has not been rushing. He's only hit that number once this season, Taylor Heineke. So this is one of the 5 QB lock rushing props that I have for this week. Taylor Heineke, again, I got it for under 22.5, but I would love to, if it's 21.5, if you can get that, I think that's good juice right there for Heineke. Under, anything for Terry McLaurin, dude, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. I'm going to keep saying it. Y'all will come around eventually. Terry McLaurin in this one, over under 69.5 receiving yards, over 5.5 receptions. And plus 125 to score a touchdown. I love it. I love it. I would even like Terry McLaurin is the first touchdown scorer at plus 700. That's more of a like 0.1 unit bet. I wouldn't put a lot of money on that. But I love his over 69.5 receiving yards, and I do like over 5.5 receptions for the number one read in that offense, Terry McLaurin. Where you at?
Yeah, no, I like those numbers for sure. And like I mentioned, both these teams allowing first reads, and Terry McLaurin, you can bet, is going to be the first read. So I'm all in on that. I think that's a good bet to make for sure. So if you want to move now to your boys, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Carolina Panthers.
How are they my boys? What does that even mean?
Well, you're Mr. Jalen Hurts. You're a Dallas Cowboys fan. You're a Las Vegas Raiders fan. You're a Jalen Hurts fan. So you're a big Devontae Smith fan. So you better be a big time Eagles fan as far as I'm concerned. Carolina favored by 3.5, over under of 45. How are you feeling about this game? I think this game's got a potential to go way over.
Yeah, if I were gonna do it. Listen, I have to keep reiterating it. I do not bet the straight spread. I don't care about the payout. I am going to tease it. So I'm going to tease it. I'm going to give the points to Philadelphia to cover the spread. I'm going to give 7.5 to Philadelphia to cover the spread, and I'm with you. I think this can go over. They're coming off of a pretty strong game versus the Chiefs. Even in a loss, the Eagles played really well in that matchup. Even in a loss, Philly played well. And, this Eagles offense right now, the Philadelphia Eagles is second worst in adjusted completion percentage at 81.5, and they're allowing opposing QBs to complete 72.7% of their passes. Sam Darnold, DJ Moore should be money in this one. I think Sam Darnold and DJ Moore could both have really, really big games. And I also think the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. We'll talk a little Miles Sanders. We'll talk a little Devonta Smith. But let's get into the man, DJ Moore. 5.5 receptions for DJ Moore. My only concern,
What concern?
Is Christian McCaffrey.
Why is that a concern?
If Christian McCaffrey's back, he's going to command 10 targets. And DJ Moore should still hit this. I'm not that concerned, right? I'm not that concerned.
So you better not be that concerned because we need more.
I'm not that concerned. But 88.5 receiving yards. If CMC is back, and part of me, as much as I'd love to see Christian McCaffrey play, just give him one more week. I know he's practiced the past 2 days. Just give him one more week. Just make sure that because hamstrings are injuries that can linger. I'd rather have him healthy for the rest of the season than come back, kind of tweak it, and now he's out for another 3 to 4 weeks. I'm really hoping he doesn't play, but I do like DJ Moore over the receptions. The receiving yards, Darius Slay, I'm not too concerned. That's just a high total. And you see it's right there.
85.5.
It's kind of high, but, we saw him torch Dallas last week. So, Sam Darnold plus 220, anytime touchdown scorer. Are you willing to stay in those Sam Darnold flames with him leading the league and tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns?
You just said it, man. He's tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns, and he's still plus 200 to score a touchdown. That to me is insane. They've been using him in the red zone a lot. We know that Philly is going to commit probably to the running game, whether it's Kenneth Gainwell, whether it's Miles Sanders. They haven't been the best in the read option game. People just don't really expect Darnold to run. And I know that Hunter's talking about the rushing yard prop. I don't love it. I was looking at that prop as well to kind of see, because I know that you're rushing yards quarterback guy. So I was looking at that one. I didn't like 19 for Darnold. I thought it was far too high. It was leaning more towards the averages from last week. Against Philly, they're not quite as good. They do have great DTs. The ends aren't quite as good. So I don't think Darnold's going to have as much pressure in his face. Like you mentioned as well, if Christian McCaffrey is back, then Darnold's definitely not going to run because he can dump it to Christian McCaffrey. He'll be just fine. But I think my real concern with McCaffrey is more so is if he does play, he's not going to play a full snap load, I don't think. I think it's more likely than not that he plays maybe 65% of snaps, or maybe he's closer to 80% of snaps if he is fully healthy.
Yeah, you look like 32-bit right now. I'm going to get you off the screen because I don't want to look at that. Maybe I'll come back and you'll be ready. But I agree with you. If I were going to take one or the other, I would take the under on Sam Darnold's rushing yards. He's only hit that total once this season, and they've kind of dialed back his rushing. Now, again, Dallas has athletic linebackers, Michael Parsons, and then also versus versus the New Orleans Saints, right? He only had 7 yards there. Dallas, he hit it versus Dallas, excuse me. They have athletic linebackers. He hit it 6 for 35 versus Dallas, getting a lot of pressure on him. I would take the under, but I'm not touching it. That's not one of my 5 locks. Sam Darnold's rushing yards, I'm a little concerned about it. If CMC is healthy and playing, I think that does help Sam Darnold, keep some pressure off of him that he doesn't have to run the ball a ton, but not really fooling with it. I do want to look at this rushing prop right here. Miles Sanders, over 11.5 rush attempts. We've seen Kenny Gainwell starting to gain more and more steam, right? The running backs over the past couple of weeks have only had a grand total, I believe, of 13 carries in total. In total, they've only had 13 carries. So this is like, if Miles Sanders hits 12 rush attempts, he's like matched what they've done the past 2 weeks combined. I don't think he's going to get there, Jay. I don't think he's going to get there, man. Again, not one of the locks that I have in, but this is a really good prop. I don't think so. In Carolina, if they get out early, they're just going to throw the ball. And Kenneth Gainwell's getting worked in more. I don't like it. I don't like the direction in which Miles Sanders' usage is trending over the past couple of weeks, man. This is one that I think the under is the safe bet, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you, because the big thing for me last week and why I liked the Miles Sanders rushing prop was because the Chiefs weren't good against the ground game, and still they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't do anything with it. Now they're playing Carolina, who coming into week 4, they had the number 1 rushing defense, against Dallas. Now they're ranked 10th, but when you think about it like that, it's like they're still a top 10 rushing defense after just getting eviscerated by Dallas on the ground game. So what are they going to do against Derek Brown? What are they going to do against Jeremy Chin and all these safeties going to be flying around all over the field? I don't see any way that Miles Sanders is going to get to 12 carries. Like, I just don't see it. I don't think there's any way he's going to get there. Like you said, single digits the past 2 weeks. He only has 10 carries in the past 2 weeks combined. He only has 40 yards in the last 2 weeks combined, and he's sitting at 11.5 and 47.5 rushing yards. Like, the rushing yards, the problem with that is like it can break on one play, and that's the reason why I'm not going that route. Yeah. I much prefer the rush attempts, and I think that he's probably going to be in, the 10 range again at the high end, because that's just where he's been, and I don't think he's going to go over 11.5.
So here's something that I heard yesterday. If you guys aren't watching the Fantasy Happy Hour show with myself, Elliot, Chris, and Brooke Cromer every Thursday, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time, Elliot made a really good point, and he said, I'd rather project and predict volume opposed to outcome, right? And I think it's easier to project, is the quarterback going to have the volume? Like, are they going to throw the ball this many times? Or is the running back going to rush the ball an X number of times, opposed to the outcome, right? The outcome, which is, do they hit those yards? Does Miles Sanders go over on his yards attempt? I feel more comfortable projecting Miles Sanders not getting the volume because he can hit the rushing yard total prop in one carry and still not hit the carries prop, right? So I'd rather bet the volume and not bet the expected outcome. Now, when it comes to Devontae Smith, I do want to touch on that because he's either hit his prop in 2 weeks and safely hit it or not hit it, right? Like, he's 2 for 2 going over his receiving yard total, right? So right now it's set at 59.5 on FanDuel. I like the over on Devonta Smith receiving yards, right? Last week, 10 targets, 7 receptions, 122 yards. This season, he has not had a game under 6 targets. 6 targets is his floor. 6 targets is his minimum. If he's going to continue to get that type of volume, that's all you can ask for. It's not like he's going 3 for 70, 2 for 80. You're betting on Quez Watkins because he's not going to get the volume, but he could hit the receiving yard prop, right? Devonta Smith is getting the targets. He's securing catches at a decent clip right now, but if I were going to take the over-under on any receiver in this game, I feel really confident in Devonta Smith going over 59.5 receiving yards in this matchup. And before we get out of here, let me see if there's anything for Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell, plus 275 to score a touchdown, and that's pretty much it from Kenneth Gainwell. All right, New England Patriots, Houston Texans. New England, a lot of, coming off of a loss, rookie quarterback. I would hammer, I'm not even being funny. I don't know what Davis Mills, what his lines are. I don't know. Do we have that on the
196 on the high end? I believe that's at PointsBet, and I believe it's 189 on the other books.
Under.
Yeah, they're pretty
Under.
high considering he only
Under.
threw, I believe, 87
Under.
passing yards last week with 4 interceptions, and you can still get Davis Mills at minus 189 to throw an interception.
Yeah.
And that's only 1 interception. He could easily throw 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, there's not a whole lot to see in this game, and the main reason why is we don't know what to expect from the Pats offense week after week. It's been a little bit all over the place. I thought about maybe Hunter Henry, but maybe it'll be a Jonnu Smith game, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. We just don't know. If you want to bet Jacoby Myers to score a touchdown, he is like well overdue in terms of his yardage and usage and all that stuff. So that may be a bet you want to place. But overall, I'm just not looking at much. But to your point, if you want to go Davis Mills under 196, under 189, whatever the number is, he's probably going to go under that because this Patriots defense is going to give him fits. And I do like the under on this game overall at 39.5.
I like the under on Mac Jones pass attempts at 33.5. I like the under on 33.5 pass attempts. Don't think he's going to have to do a ton versus this Texans defense. And whatever, let me tell you what Mac Jones is good for. If you're a fan in PPR leagues of your receivers catching a lot of balls, I don't care if he dinks and dunks it. That doesn't bother me at all. That's more scoring opportunities for the pass catchers. So Jacoby Myers over the reception total. What's his reception total at? 4.5? Jacoby Myers? Do they have it? Jacoby Myers' reception total is 5.5. 5.5. And if you go over, I think that's well within his range of outcomes. What has Jonnu Smith showed us anything this season? I like Mac Jones under pass attempts. There's no rushing props out there for Mac Jones. Wouldn't touch it anyway. But
Jacoby's over 8 his past 2 games. So it's only been 1 game. He hasn't gone over 5.5. He had 6 week 1. So pretty good bet.
I think it's a good bet, and you can get plus odds on that. Not much juice, plus 105. Not a ton, but I mean you can get even money right there. I like it. It's 1-for-1 bet essentially for Jacoby Myers to continue to do what he's done all season. That's where I'd lean in this one. Don't want to touch any of the running backs. I don't want anybody on Houston. I do not want Brandon Cooks. And if I were going to do anything, I would just I'd do a 2-leg parlay. Davis Mills under his passing yards, and Davis Mills would throw an interception and just get out of there. Like, just get out. Don't play around with this one. Don't get cute. Justin Fields versus my Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders coming off of a loss. Didn't look too good versus the Chargers. They're favored by 5.5 versus Justin Fields. Where you at with this one, Jay?
I don't know what to do with this game, and I think you need to talk me through it because the Raiders have a good pass rush. We know that. The Chicago Bears offensive line looked pretty good last week, and then on top of that, we know that Daniel Montgomery's not going to play, so probably more emphasis on the running game with Justin Fields. So potentially we see some more Justin Fields. His prop is sitting at 24.5 rushing yards.
Didn't touch it.
Love it.
Didn't touch it.
Don't hate it.
Didn't touch it.
Yeah, it seems a little bit high. But then on top of that, I'm like, well, the Raiders have a pretty good defense. But when I actually looked into the rushing stats, they have the same rushing yards per game allowed as Detroit. And so I'm like, well, that's not great. Like, that doesn't tell me anything, considering that last week the Chicago Bears ran all over Detroit. I think that the Raiders do have a better front than Detroit, but to know that the rush defense has been very similar, it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence in taking a Damian Williams number, which it's at 60.5 rushing yards. And I think that's really high for Damian Williams. No matter whether he is the feature back or not, I just don't think he's going to get 60.5 rushing yards. But knowing that the Raiders are as bad, quote unquote, as Detroit doesn't make me feel very good, even though they have played the Raiders and the Chargers, who played very well against them.
So here for me, another thing that I look at when you're looking at these quarterback rushing props, rushing quarterbacks like one's true dual threats, the Jalen Hurts, the Justin Fields of the world, the Lamar Jacksons. Defenses scheme for that, right? So they're going into the matchup knowing this quarterback wants to run the ball. This is the quarterback that wants to run the ball. So normally they designate a spy, or at least their defensive scheme is to contain said running back. And Justin Fields, in his one start, he had 3 carries, 9 yards. In his sort of game where he came in and played a little bit versus Cincinnati when Dalton got banged up, he had 10 for 31, but that was during a week in which he had no game planning for. Justin Fields wants to throw the ball. He is a passing quarterback that can run the ball. Very good, very effective. But I didn't touch it. I just don't like the over in this one. I don't think that's what he wants to do. And I also try to stay away from quarterbacks who, much like RBs, we talk about they can break that prop in one run. Justin Fields could do that in one run, and then you're asked out like immediately. Like, I'd rather bank on the quarterbacks that probably aren't going to do it on one run. They're going to have to do it on multiple carries. I just want to dive into my philosophy and strategy when I'm looking at these. So I didn't touch the Justin Fields rushing prop. I would like Darnell Mooney, whatever his longest reception is. Don't know where it's at right now. Let's see, long reception for Darnell Mooney.
So you do like Darnell Mooney. That one because I believe his yardage is only 44.5.
And his long reception is
sure about it.
His long reception is 20.5. He's their deep threat, man. He's their deep shot. And Justin Fields,
But do you think he'll have time though? That's my concern. Do you think he'll have time with Max Crosby?
The issue is the Raiders secondary is decimated.
Yeah,
they have no corners. Jonathan Abram is not a coverage safety. I think Mooney will have his shots. All it takes is one. Right? Darnell Mooney will have his shots. We know he's the deep threat. That Raiders second, they said it last week with the Chargers. Why is Justin Herbert not attacking these cornerbacks? I think Justin Fields will attack these cornerbacks. I like Darnell Mooney's over his receiving yard total, and I like Darnell Mooney for the long reception. I like both of those guys. Let's talk about Henry Ruggs, who's really he's growing on me week by week. I think he's a fine player. Maybe not a superstar, probably still didn't deserve to be the number one wide receiver drafted in 2020, but I like what he's doing. I like how he's getting deep once a game every week. Long reception over 22.5 versus this Bears defense. I like it. Derek Carr is going to take his shots. Say what you want about Crockpot Carr. He's going to take his shots deep, so I like Henry Ruggs down the field in this matchup.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, I think last week it was 3 targets down the field. One was a PI call, one they completed for like 50 yards, and the other one that Carr just missed him, but he was still wide open.
Missed him.
I believe they've hit this prop every single week. The only week I think they didn't was week 1 potentially, but yeah, even at 22.5. For this guy, it should be at 25. It should be at 26. We've seen that with these elite deep threats, it'd be much higher than this number. And I think that this is one that he can hit, whether it's on a deep ball or even just on a deep corner route, post route, even a deep dig or out route. I think that he can hit this prop pretty easily.
So we've got a couple of games left. We're not going to get through them all. Buffalo, Kansas City is going to be a fantastic matchup. Tennessee, Jacksonville, I'm just going to say Derrick Henry. I'm smashing the over on King Henry. 115. It's crazy because I got him on Prize Picks at 119. I wish I would have got 115, but I love Derrick Henry in this matchup. We talked about the Bills and the Chiefs. Josh Allen over 39.5 pass attempts. I think I'm taking the under on that one. I think I like Josh Allen. 40 pass attempts. I don't know if they're gonna have to do. I don't know if they're gonna have to do that versus Kansas City. That defense is so bad. And Buffalo likes to run the ball with all 3 running backs, including Josh Allen being one of those running backs I'm alluding to. Don't know how I really feel about that. And then my Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 32.5 pass attempts. The Cowboys versus the Giants. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of the run, and I'd be taking the under Dak Prescott pass attempts. I think they figured out a way in which to preserve that MVP arm, keep it safe, keep that shoulder safe, utilize Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott on the unders on that one. I know I'm kind of flying through this, but I want to just make sure we get to our locks for everybody this week. San Francisco, Arizona with Trey Lance and Kyler Murray should be a great one. Daniel Jones, will he stay cooking? And what the hell is Cleveland going to do with Baker Mayfield and his reported torn labrum that he's dealing with, or AC joint, something like that he's hurting with? But let me just give you all my quarterback rushing picks for the week. I have Patrick Mahomes, 17.5 rushing yards. I'm taking the over in this matchup. Patrick Mahomes is going to run the ball. He likes to scramble around. He's athletic, and I do not believe Buffalo with Terrell Edmonds or Tremaine Edmonds, Micah Hyde, those guys. I think Patrick Mahomes will safely hit his over on his rushing yard props. I've got Taylor Heineke under 22.5 rushing yards. Justin Herbert under 12.5 rushing yards, which he's been money the past 3 weeks. Baker Mayfield under 11.5 rushing yards, and Zach Wilson, as we talked about yesterday, under 9.5 yards. So Zach Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Taylor Heineke, all under, and Patrick Mahomes over 17.5. That's what I got this week for my quarterback rushing props.
Nice. I like those, especially the Baker one. Baker doesn't really run a whole lot, and I actually liked him. We talked about last week with with Derek Carr. Derek Carr was even money to throw a pick, and Baker Mayfield is the same this week. He's minus 110 to throw a pick, basically even money when you factor in the books taking their piece of the pie. So I like that bet. The Chargers, I believe, have an interception every single game this year. And if Baker's especially struggling to throw the ball, hey, man, if you're struggling to throw the ball, it's going to be really difficult to do that against a defense that's really flying around on the back end. And we've seen Asante Samuel get picks. We've seen all these guys, Derwin James making plays. I think that this is going to be a really tough game for the Browns. We know the Chargers aren't the best against the run, but they played a lot better last week, and so I expect them to do a good job. Nick Chubb's yards is 83.5. I know that you've been kind of in the we just take the Chubb over and hope he gets there. I just don't know if we're going to see it this week.
He's been doing it, though, man. He's been
doing it. I think he's hit it every single week so
every
far.
Week. He's hit his over. Every week he's hit his over, and I'm staying in it, man. Coming off a 100-yard game. Listen, he's getting 20 carries a game, 18, 19 carries a game. I still want Chubb, man, and the Chargers are down Kenneth Murray, very fast, athletic linebacker, and they're utilizing Kareem Hunt in a way in which it keeps defenses honest. I still like Nick Chubb's over, man.
Yeah, so for me, I think the bet that I like the most of all is not Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt to score a touchdown at plus 180. That's on PointsBet. It's plus 155 on FanDuel. One of the big things I love to see from Kareem Hunt is that his utilization in the red zone is a lot higher than you'd expect from a star running back. They do have Nick Chubb, but because of that dual threat ability in the red zone, Kareem Hunt is utilized a little bit more in the red zone, and so I like him to score a touchdown because he has plus odds, where Nick Chubb usually has minus odds because he's viewed as that star running back who gets the ball, when in reality, Kareem Hunt has just as good of a shot at scoring a touchdown as Nick Chubb does.
Yeah, and just real quick, Patrick Mahomes, this season he's hit his rushing prop 3 out of 4 times. 18 yards in week 1. He only had 3 yards versus Baltimore. Those athletic linebackers, right? Didn't even attempt to run the ball. 45 yards versus the Chargers. 26 yards last week versus Philadelphia. Hence the reason why I take the over. He's going to run the ball. Like, Mahomes is going to run it 3 or 4 times, and they're never designed plays. Like, they're not designed, and that's when you have an opportunity to exploit the overs, is when you have a mobile quarterback that doesn't get designed run calls, that can pick up chunk yards when things are broken downfield. And one of the things that Patrick Mahomes doesn't do often is what? What's one of the things that Patrick Mahomes does not do often?
Not throw interceptions?
Well, not throw what? Not interceptions, but what does he not throw? You're close. He doesn't throw the ball away often. He doesn't throw the ball away often. He doesn't throw the ball away often. He's either going to force it. What does he say? Tyreek's down there somewhere. F it. I'm just going to throw it up. Or he's going to tuck it and run. And that's what I like. I like quarterbacks that can play off script and that they don't have to have design runs in order to thrive in the rushing attack. And Patrick Mahomes does not. He doesn't need to. They don't design runs for Patrick Mahomes. He just ain't throwing it away. And he's going to scramble around, find something to do. Boom, Patrick Mahomes hits his over in that one. Anything else, man?
I can't think of a whole lot. I know that I liked the Zeke number. Zeke was at 73.5 for his rushing yards. I think he goes over pretty easily against the Giants. People are kind of touting the Giants a little bit, thinking they can do something. I'm not seeing it, man. The Cowboys are averaging 38.5 points per game at home. That's a lot. And so if you want to bet the Cowboys team total, I think they could get there. But more importantly, I think I'd be betting the spread for the Cowboys at only 7 points right now. Even if you want to tease it to even money, I think there's a really, really, really good shot the Cowboys win. They've been playing so well at home. I just don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue. Like you talked about with the Dak passing attempts, he hasn't gone over, I believe, 27 in the past 3 weeks. So that'll be an easy under on the 32.5. But I do like the over on Zeke at 73.5. So I think that they're going to stay in those flames with that bet as well. I really like it. Although I'm curious your thoughts quickly on the Chargers receivers. Who do you think is going to lead the team in receiving yards this week? Will it be Keenan Allen or Mike Williams? And then I think same thing with Tyreek and Kelsey. I think this week is going to be a Kelsey week personally.
Week? A Kelsey
week?
If
I was placing bets, I'd probably go with a Kelsey week. I do think it'll be a bit of both, but I think it'll be more of a Kelsey week. But I do think this will be a week they get back to Mike Williams a little bit. We saw Keenan Allen still get 7 receptions, I believe, on 11 targets. But Mike Williams only had 4 targets, only caught 1 pass for, I believe, 11 yards or so. So I think they're going to get back to Mike Williams. They I don't really know what happened. I know Justin Herbert missed him a few times. But I would probably bet that Mike Williams gets back to normal. And I think that Travis Kelce, more importantly, is going to get back, because he had a terrible game by Travis Kelce standards last week.
Yeah, I mean, and then you also got to remember Tyreek Hill's got to deal with what's his name, Tre'Davious White. Yeah. Hey, Hunter, I'm going to chat you in the comment. I can't see your tweet, bro. Like, I have no clue. I checked mine. Jordan, are your DMs open?
Yes, they are.
Hey,
When
Hunter.
you're when you miss your 20K followers, you gotta mute those notifications because people be coming after you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
Jordan.
get
But
slanderous
yeah,
talk.
Hunter,
Hunter,
DM me and we can talk for sure.
Hunter, hit Jay Rich and he'll tell you what I use. At your boy Jay Rich, ChaboyJrich on the screen now. Tony Pollard. I want to answer that question real quick. Did you get that? I was trying to find a way to hit to
Any
Hunter
faith
back.
in Pollard? I do like Tony Pollard.
Man. Yeah, Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard will be good. And more importantly, I think against the Giants, another beatable matchup.
Yeah, 38
what
and a
you need
half.
to remember is
38 and a half. Yeah.
This Cowboys offensive line is dominating people each and every week. Like this is not going to stop until they run into a really, really good defensive line.
I like
Tampa's
Tony.
the only
I
one
like
that really
I like
did
Tony
anything against
Pollard.
them.
I like Tony Pollard over rushing yards. I like Saquon Barkley 54 and a half. I still like that. I think they're going to have to lean on. I wish there was a total
Really?
Saquon. I like Saquon Barkley over 54 and a half. Listen, Philadelphia, even though they gave Miles Sanders one carry, his one carry went for like 20 yards right up the gut of Dallas's defense. If you're going to exploit Dallas defensively, you have to run the ball. And Saquon Barkley is looking like Saquon is back. I do not believe Daniel Jones is going to be able to beat them through the air. So I do like Saquon Barkley. And I think that's one that I did take. I took Saquon Barkley, and I got it at 55 and a half. Come on, Prize Picks. You're supposed to do me right, baby. I also took Corey Davis.
54 and a half.
I did a 2-leg parlay on Prize Picks. Kyle Pitts over 4 receptions and Corey Davis over 56 and a half yards receiving. I already gave you my quarterback locks, and the only other bet that I took this week, Derrick Henry over 119 and a half yards versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How many do you think he gets this week against the Jaguars? I think he's going to get 185.
I think he's like 140 something. I think he'll get like 140 something. I don't think he's going to carry the ball 30 something times. I don't think they're going to have to do that. I think he's going to carry. Well, the issue is I think Jeremy McNichols is banged up, so that could yield for some more work in the receiving game. No Julio Jones again this week.
Yeah.
No Julio. A.J. Brown looks like he is coming back. But I think Derrick Henry will be like in the 140s, 140, 150. I think he's going to confidently hit his over. I think that's a lock. But hopefully we make some money on those QB props. I feel really good about those. I think I started to explain some of the process and the rationale as to where I pick these. I'm not just aimlessly just picking quarterbacks to go over and under it. There is a little bit of strategy and process in there. But Jay, thank you for this week, man. Another great show. You do a good job producing this thing. Thank everybody for tapping in, whether that be on Twitter or YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the content. And hopefully we have a profitable week of betting this week. So appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you bright and early on Monday morning.